It's about the view. It's become like a medical hospital that displays human misfailure. Like it's like here, let's look at this political oddity. You know, it's like it really is like the left-wing equivalent of a carnival sideshow, except instead of bearded ladies and fat clowns and two-headed cows. Well, let me rephrase that. But The View is a victim of the sunk cost fallacy. You know, how can you now speak the truth when for years you've been telling lies after lie after lie? Now you're carrying this big bag of rocks around you because it's too harmful for their ego to admit that we really were dishonest.
Sunny Hostin just learned the hard way that walking into a Gutfeld segment unprepared is a recipe for disaster. Kat Timpf and Greg Gutfeld teamed up for a verbal roast so sharp, it could be used in a communication course on sarcasm. What did they say? Why did Sunny nearly lose it during a live broadcast? Grab your snacks. This moment was so intense. Even Joy Behar acted like she'd never met.
Such a group. It's amazing how Joy and Whoopi became the smart ones.
For me, the most shocking thing about the conversation was how truly boring it was. They're like, well, the cicadas, they're cicadas. Okay, but it was like every 100 years. No, it's every 17 years. Do you know how many Emmys this show has? 31.
31 Emmys?
This show has 31. I mean, I'd hate to see the conversations that don't make headlines.
Sunny Hostin was having a typical week, or at least as typical as it gets when your day job involves debating on national TV while acting like every opinion you drop is flawless. The View was going along like a group project where everyone's smiling but secretly keeping score. Then out of nowhere came the media storm that no one expected.
Now to some news. The feral monsters of The View say they've never heard of you-know-who. True, the show that makes mornings hell claim that my name doesn't ring a bell. It's time for...
Our view on The View. Ugh.
Yeah, the witch's coven finally shows me some lovin'. Yesterday on The View, yours truly was the subject of conversation. Apparently the broads have no idea who I am, or so they say. Hit it, Gladys.
They said that Gutfeld talks about you all the time.
Who is he? Well, really, who is he?
I don't watch the show.
He has a show.
I don't watch the
never
show.
heard of him.
Yeah.
I guess he's just obsessed with me.
No. Next, Joy's going to say she's never heard of...
And not just any media storm, a full-blown wave of wit, sarcasm, and unapologetic commentary straight out of the Gutfeld universe. A world where the tone is smug and the energy is pure satire. It wasn't a debate. There was no live face-off. This wasn't a head-to-head between hosts. It was something else entirely. Sunny got absolutely roasted without even showing up to the studio.
Her denial of knowing me is as believable as her red hair. But obsession? I mean, come on, Joy. Where would you even get that idea? Like Joy Behar's face, it's looking worse and worse by the day. More full of crap than Joy Behar after a night of scotch and Taco Bell. Her being named Joy is like me being named ugly. Joy wasn't there on the show. Apparently Mondays are her days off when she feeds in the pasture. It now smells like a humid day inside Joy Behar's moo-moo. The motives stink worse than Joy Behar's jog bra. I mean, assuming she jogs. Oh, wait, there she is.
Perfectly timed satire strike, executed with precision by Kat Timpf and Greg Gutfeld, who saw Sunny Hostin from a distance and thought, yep, this is the week she gets verbally steamrolled on cable TV. Kat dropped in like a snark-powered drone and delivered wave after wave of dry wit, all wrapped in laughter. Gutfeld, of course, acted as the ringleader, transforming the segment into a full-on media breakdown of what he sees as the overly polished world of daytime TV commentary. And this week, Sunny found herself in the spotlight.
I want to hit myself in the face so I can feel something. You know, it's like so boring. She's like, yeah, I like Instacart, but don't worry, I tip the poors. But, you know, Joy, you actually don't like Instacart and you do like the store. And then Joy is like, yeah, I do. I like to go to the store. I like to walk around and see what's at the store, what I do want, what I don't want. Maybe I want tuna fish and I just want to hit
the record straight. Sunny didn't cry on air. There were no tears or emotional scenes, but her unraveling had a different energy, the kind where someone doesn't realize they're losing control. That perfectly rehearsed presence started to crack, one shaky line at a time. The polite smiles faded, and the bold takes now felt like soft jabs. And here's the twist. You can prep for interviews, you can prep for pushback, but you can't prep for becoming the punchline on a show you've long ignored. That surprise hit, it shook everything. This wasn't just a roast, it was a masterclass in breaking down a brand. Sunny's whole presence feels like a courtroom drama character who accidentally wandered into a stand-up show. She brings the energy, the pauses, the confident tone. That works for her daytime crew, but when that same style gets flipped into sketch comedy, suddenly passion looks theatrical. Those long pauses, viral moment material, and that signature confidence. Now it's just the setup for the next one-liner.
You pretty surprised that they didn't know what this show was?
No, I'm also not surprised that there's one part of the video from the show yesterday that you left out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, can we roll that, please?
I don't watch the show that much, but I've seen it.
Who is that?
Who is that?
Greg Gutfeld's one of the hosts of The Five who, if I don't have anything nice to say, I generally don't say anything at all. I would just say this, his show should be called Cat Timpf, not Gutfeld, because she's the funny one on it.
Somebody's flirting with little cat over here.
Well, she's the Republican one at the table, but I just think as a libertarian, I'm always looking to find common ground with other people because nobody really shares my politics. So I find some common ground in The View where she thinks I'm funny and I agree.
What made this moment especially sharp was that Cat Timpf didn't need to yell, didn't need to rant, and didn't even need to push too hard. Just one raised eyebrow and a laugh that said "bless your heart" was all it took. It landed with the force of a mic drop. She took Sunny's usual takes and twisted them into a kind of satire so sharp it made you question if anyone at The View has ever really stepped outside their own echo chamber. Greg Gutfeld, always the ringmaster of media mayhem, ensured this wasn't just a late-night bit. It became a full-scale roast with the flair of someone who knows the art of comedic contrast. He laid out the difference between his crew's raw commentary and the polished, high-minded tone of daytime opinion panels. And honestly, it wasn't a level match. It felt like an intellectual dodgeball game where Sunny never held the ball, just kept getting tagged, smiling like it didn't sting, but clearly feeling the impact. But the real punchline wasn't anything she said, it was what she didn't say. No angry tweets, no reaction monologues, not even a subtle Instagram quote. Just silence. And in that stillness, you could sense the ripple effect.
The true sign of the apocalypse is someone that dumb has a law degree. Worse, if your name has the word sun in it, there's no excuse for not knowing how an eclipse works. But it's no surprise that Joy is the one who understands science. She's been on the science diet for years. They're turning on me. So that makes Sunny Hostin, who thinks climate change caused the solar eclipse, the dumbest of them all. Because everyone knows the moon caused the eclipse, which is controlled by the View's gravitational pull.
It was like watching the teacher who always seems confident suddenly start checking their notes a little too often. That shift in the air, the subtle tilt that said, "Yeah, that one landed." See, the thing about a roast versus a meltdown is this. A roast ends when the laughter fades, but Sunny's reaction kept going, not through her words, but through her presence. Her show segments got longer. That calm, steady tone. It started to sound more defensive. Her takes, once self-assured, leaned into over-explaining. It was almost like watching someone try to reprove their expertise after saying something questionable at a formal event. And the internet? Oh, they caught every beat. TikTok animated her facial reactions. Twitter turned clips into instant memes, and YouTube took a deep dive like it was a historical analysis. While her core fans brushed it off, the wider audience noticed. When someone gets playfully roasted on national television by people who never even entered the room, that stays with you. This wasn't just about Sunny, it was a jab at the whole format. The tone, the posture, the idea that every statement at that table is a declaration and every challenge is personal. And that kind of poke, it echoes.
A 4-year-old was mocked by The View over his name. prompting Musk's child to exclaim, "Daddy, I didn't know hippos could talk." Sausage maker Johnsonville is recalling more than 42,000 pounds of pork sausage for possible contamination with plastic fibers. Fortunately, authorities were able to track all 42,000 pounds to a single location in New York City.
Didn't just challenge Sunny's take. They took aim at the whole setup behind it, and they did it all with a laugh and a nod. It's not that Sunny isn't intelligent, she absolutely is. And that's part of what made this moment so striking. Because when someone sharp ends up outplayed by their own confidence, the contrast hits even harder. She misjudged the strength of satire. She thought that being earnest would protect her, but satire doesn't pause for sincerity. It runs right through it with a grin. And while Sunny was still processing the hit, the Gutfeld crew had already moved on, likely lining up the next round of strong media personalities to put under the spotlight. Meanwhile, Sunny returned to her usual role, sipping her coffee like everything was normal, even as things behind the scenes felt anything but. It was like watching someone calmly hang up new curtains while chaos quietly unravels in the next room. What made this moment so unforgettable wasn't just the humor, it was the way it peeled back the surface. For years, The View has lived in its own loop of applause and certainty, like a members-only space where strong emotion equals truth. But this time, someone kicked in the door, flipped the table, and left with the playlist.
Ah, you look tantalizing. You know, I make fun of The View a lot, but that's only because they keep talking. Because COVID also taught Sunny Hostin how to get her groceries delivered.
3 years, that's when I discovered Instacart. And I give them a big tip because they don't always pay their people well. And it's so that's been an issue, I think, for the company. But man, you can get toiletries, you can get fire logs.
Fire logs? She had to tell the audience that she tips big because even she knows she sounds...
Counterpoint was needed. That was the message. Kat and Greg didn't require a comeback because the laughter said it all. The silence that followed, that was the impact, and Sunny's effort to power through, to act like none of it landed, just added fuel to the fire. Because nothing says that stung like trying really hard to act unaffected. While her core supporters rallied with support posts and essays, most viewers were still rewatching the highlights. The truth is, when someone's whole TV presence is built on confidence and composure, even a momentary slip-up feels monumental. It's like watching a figure skater try to pose gracefully mid-stumble. That tiny fall becomes the headline. That's what makes great comedy. It doesn't worry about status or titles. It only reacts to what's right there in the moment. And Sunny, in that moment, became a highlight, not because she was silly, but because she took it all so seriously that she didn't see the shift happening. The View will keep airing, of course, the mugs will still clink, the segments will continue, and Sunny will still sit at that table. But now there's a small shift in how people see her. A hairline crack in the image. And every time that clip resurfaces, every time another meme pops up, that crack gets just a bit more noticeable.
Their brains are small. But who's the dumbest one of all? True, none of them are in Mensa, but who's the most densa? Perhaps it's Sunny who mastered the art of making idiots look smart. Now, The View could ask a mirror who's the dumbest one of all, but there's no way that glass doesn't
say her name. That's what made it hit so much harder. Gutfeld and Timpf simply held up a mirror polished with sarcasm, and Sunny Hostin practically ran over to scold her own reflection. That's when you know someone's taken the bait, when a vague joke floats across the room and they stand up outraged, as if everyone was thinking of them anyway. That's not a clapback, that's a reveal. Kat, with her classic mix of deadpan and daring, dropped a roast so wide yet sharp in tone that only someone feeling exposed would take offense. And here's the twist, Sunny wasn't dragged. She stepped into the flames herself, arms open like, "You'll be hearing from my team." Meanwhile, Gutfeld just chuckled like he was watching a sketch where the performer didn't realize they were the punchline. The best part? Kat and Gutfeld barely even tried. No direct quotes, no deep dives, just the right tone. A snarky tone with a whiff of sharp wit and college party sarcasm. And Sunny? She unraveled like a ball of yarn in a room full of kittens. She basically did their job for them. Gutfeld could have been reading instructions off a cereal box and Sunny would have said,
People have to wonder, where does Sunny Hostin get her opinions?
Yeah.
Like you said, it's obviously from her husband. She has to tell her what to say on The View, because without it, she's got nothing up there. She's not very bright. But the problem with her is that she went full racist. She injected skin color into a fairly generic behavior seen in all spouses, regardless of skin color. People marry, they listen to each other, they have something in common with them, they share their political views. She just didn't want to upset her husband by saying her husband makes her do everything, and then she'd have to accuse him of being...
say her name. That's what made it hit so much harder. Gutfeld and Kat Timpf simply held up a mirror polished with sarcasm, and Sunny Hostin practically ran over to scold her own reflection. That's when you know someone's taken the bait, when a vague joke floats across the room and they stand up outraged as if everyone was thinking of them anyway. That's not a clapback, that's a reveal. Kat, with her classic mix of deadpan and daring, dropped a roast so wide yet sharp in tone that only someone feeling exposed would take offense. And here's the twist, Sunny wasn't dragged. She stepped into the flames herself, arms open like, "You'll be hearing from my team." Meanwhile, Gutfeld just chuckled like he was watching a sketch where the performer didn't realize they were the punchline. The best part? Kat and Gutfeld barely even tried. No direct quotes, no deep dives, just the right tone. A snarky tone with a whiff of sharp wit and college party sarcasm. And Sunny? She unraveled like a ball of yarn in a room full of kittens. She basically did their job for them. Gutfeld could have been reading instructions off a cereal box and Sunny